Get to see you.
Questions for Coach?
The DBs today, they were able to make some plays out there. That's caught an interception. Even though Elijah Moore caught some passes on Bryce Hall, but he had tight coverage. So can you speak a little bit to just the development that they've been able to make, from OTA to spring just up to now?
So the competitive battle back and forth between the receivers and DBs, it's pretty good, especially when we get into those man coverage situations, just to see them compete one off the line, at the line of scrimmage, offensively, defensively. But the DBs are doing a good job, just trying to create tight windows and giving themselves a chance at the ball. Receivers are working like heck to create separation, and they've had some. You saw Elijah in the end zone had created a lot of separation to free himself for a touchdown, and then you've had a couple situations where the DBs are given nothing, and so it's a really cool battle that's happening. Those guys are getting better as every day progresses. You got it. Go ahead.
What have you seen? Sorry. Are you done with that?
Yes.
What have you seen out of Elijah so far? And he seems to be off to a good start. He almost got
he's impressive in just his I was telling somebody this morning, he's kind of an old soul. He's already ahead of the game with regards to how he studies, takes care of his body, the way he approaches practice, the way he approaches each rep, and so he's impressive in the sense that we feel very confident that he's going to find ways to get better. This game is very important to him, and he shows it with his actions every day.
You look at his body size and kind of say, "Oh, he's a slot," or something. But it seems like he can do a lot more.
He's more than a slot. He's got the ability to play outside, inside, gadget, whatever you want him to do. And the reason why he's able to do that is because of his mental capacity. The young man's very smart, and like I said, it's very important to him. So he's constantly studying. He knows all three positions at the receiver spot, and because of it and his ability to move around, he's going to have a bright future.
Pre-snap motion that this offense does, is it really hard for a receiver to learn this offense?
It is very hard. It's hard for a receiver because they put you. A lot of teams, you're thrown at a spot and it's all right, go. But in this offense, because of the way they do such a good job creating matchups, and the only way you can create matchups and have that freedom is to be able to play all three spots. So these receivers are all being taught all three spots. They have to know where everyone aligns, and so there's a lot of just likes, but personnel is in different spots, which creates not necessarily confusion, but it breaks tendencies. And so yes, it is hard, but at the same time, once they do get it, it unlocks an aspect of their game personally that allows the coordinator to get them in position to make plays.
There's some 21 personnel where you had Trayvon at fullback. How much are you all going to use him in that spot? How much are you going to use him fullback in this offense? Because obviously Kyle last year used a lot with Kyle Juszczyk. But how much fullback usage will be in this offense?
So that's going to dictate on how well those fullbacks, Trayvon in this case, on how well he progresses. And Wesco's been doing a very good job at learning it and having the versatility to play not only the fullback spot but the tight end spot, and obviously every week will kind of dictate how those guys are used. Kyle Juszczyk has got a tremendous receiving ability to him, so it allows San Francisco to use him a little bit more. But at the same time, Wesco is doing a really nice job showing his versatility and creating a little package that will find its way on the football field. So it'll dictate. Go ahead.
It's been a few days, but with Morgan Moses, what are you seeing in him out there? And just kind of, there was so much speculation for a while that you're going to bring him in, and what was the importance of getting him in here?
It goes back to, with Morgan, he's been fantastic. He's exactly what we thought with regards to being a professional and taking the approach that he does, not only on the field but off the field with his body and the way he prepares every day. So that part, no surprise. He's been fantastic on the field with regards to his play. The thing that you'll hear us talk about, you can never have enough good O linemen and D linemen. It just the game still is won in the trenches, and to be able to add somebody like him and however it works out with regards to that right tackle competition, that O line room is much better because of his presence, and so it's just going to be exciting to see how those two progress, especially when George gets back here. I think he's back tomorrow, and so we'll get to see how that thing works out.
How much could a guy like that help the development of Mekhi and Elijah?
Elijah?
I think it's big because of he's a pro. He does things exactly the way you want. He takes care of his body. He doesn't miss practice. He doesn't miss games. He's reliable. He's always doing the right thing. He doesn't bust. He's technically sound. So because of it, he's a good example for a young offensive lineman to be able to look at and say, okay, I see how you have longevity in this league.
Robert, are you looking forward to the pads coming on tomorrow, and how does that change the dynamics?
I was excited for the pads to come on today, and then I looked at I was like, oh, wait a minute, the pads go on Tuesday, and that happened on Saturday night. But I'm looking forward to it because now the O-line, D-line, that's where the biggest difference is going to be. There won't be much change in the perimeter of the defense and offense for that matter with regards to how they play. There'll be a little bit more physicality, obviously, but on the interior where those guys are getting true, genuine work, we'll get some one-on-ones going in camp for the first time. So it's going to be exciting to see those guys progress.
Just one more thing on Morgan, because we haven't had a chance to meet him yet. Is he the kind of guy that embraces trying to take some of these young guys under his wing? Because you obviously got, as was just referenced by Andy, he's got a lot of young guys out there.
I think so. He's got this $1 million smile on his face. He's very upbeat, very positive, very personable. So he's we're still learning him too, obviously, but from everything we've gathered, he's a pro's pro and a man's man in terms of just wanting to be around and give as much knowledge and information as he can.
What's your philosophy, Robert, when the practices do get more physical? And that line, there's sort of that line there where, we saw one fight today, but fights are going to start happening. What's your philosophy? What's your message to the team about that aspect of it?
The fighting part?
Being physical, but not
Well,
crazy.
So you want to be as physical as possible, and I understand. Well, I think we all understand that there's going to be scuffles, especially when it gets hotter. We've been lucky with weather, but they're going to get sick of going against one another. There's going to be scuffles, but the biggest thing is just don't throw punches at one another. We don't need guys coming off on the sideline and creating a bigger scuffle. It's more protect the team and understanding that it's a mindset to draw the 15-yard penalty than give the 15-yard penalty, and. So I understand that it's going to happen. It's not that we want it to happen, but at the same time, keep your composure. It's good practice for the game when it happens, and we're trying to keep it in house. So.
Chris Herndon's a guy that people have been expecting to jump up for the last couple of years. I noticed he flashed once or twice in practice today. What are your expectations for him?
For initially, obviously, it's for him just be consistent and try to find ways to get better every day. It really is. I'm not going to put any expectations with regards to result, but for him, there's he's had moments where he's looked very good in his career. He's had moments where he's kind of disappeared and he's had injuries, but at the same time, let him get into a rhythm. Let's get some consistency going and just play with the effort, the technique, and the violence that we look for. And if he can do that day in and day out, we think Herndon can have a pretty darn good year.
Does his body type or skill set remind you of any tight ends that you've seen over the years?
Give me a couple of padded practices, and I can give you a better answer on that one.
Robert, how do you feel?
It seems he's doing a little bit more. Is he getting closer?
Yeah, I think he did position drills today. I think he did, and so he's getting much closer. Obviously, he's 2 weeks away. We got this week and then Giants week, but he's getting closer. He's excited, and we're all excited to get him out there. He's going to be a big. The D-line group is already pretty impressive. So getting him and Vinny Curry and Kyle Phillips, all those guys coming in, it's exciting for that group.
You just hit on the D-line, Robert. We're talking to some of them in a little bit. Just how much of a priority was that for you and Joe when you guys sat down January, February? We're going through where you need to improve this team. How much were you saying, let's get this defensive line in line?
No, it's a good question. The O-line, D-line, you can never have too many. When you look at, and I've said it up here before, but when you look at the quarterback position being the most important, there's scheme that can get him off his rocker, and you can try to get him off his game. But when you start bringing pressure and you start trying to trick a quarterback, the great ones can make you pay in a really, really bad way. And the only position that can really genuinely affect the quarterback without really having to do anything goofy, so you can just play good, sound, fundamental football on the back end, is the defensive line. Winning one-on-ones and getting in the quarterback's face and making his life absolute hell. So obviously, always priority number one. And then on the flip side of it, the next most important position when you get to those O-linemen to protect the quarterback, to keep them. If the O-line, so we talk about in-house, it's rushing coverage, but if the O-line can make it 7-on-7, every quarterback in the league will dominate, and that's the intent. And that was kind of the build, you know.
With regard to the pads, I'm just kind of curious because every coach wants pads all the time. How difficult is it to evaluate the way you want to evaluate when you're not in pads? You've already done that on 5 practices.
You know, I guess you get to the point, you know, where these veterans, especially on the O-line, D-line, you kind of have an idea, but you don't need much with regards to padded practice to really see the exterior, the perimeter of the offenses and defenses. Interior, you always want pads, really, because it helps with pad level. It helps them keep good sound fundamentals. It helps all those things. But as far as needing all those padded practices, I think it's more for fundamentals. Usually, you should already know whether or not those guys can play with or without pads because of the way they practice.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, thanks everybody.